They told me I was too old to attend my grandson's birthday. I sent a gift anyway. Inside the box was a letter and a key. When they opened it, the party stopped. Family story. I still hear Megan's voice on that Tuesday afternoon, bright and careful the way people talk when they have already decided something for you. Mom, the party is at the community center this year. Lots of running around, bounce houses, loud music. It's really more for the kids and the younger parents. We just think it might be too much for you. Jason was on speaker in the background. He didn't say much. He never does when his wife is steering the conversation. I sat in my kitchen in the same house on Maple Lane where Jason grew up, looking out at the same maple tree that had dropped its leaves every fall for 41 years. My coffee had gone cold. I'm 73, Megan, not 93, I said. I can sit in a chair and watch my grandson open presents. There was a pause. Then she added the part that stayed with me. We just don't want anything to happen. You're not as steady as you used to be. Caleb would feel terrible if you fell or got tired. It's better this way. We'll bring him by next weekend with cake. Next weekend. After the balloons were gone and the other grandparents had already taken their pictures. I hung up and sat there until the light in the kitchen shifted from afternoon gold to the gray that comes before supper. Caleb was turning 10. 10 years of birthdays I had never missed. I had been in the delivery room the night he was born. I had held him while Jason and Megan slept in the hospital chairs. I had driven through 2 snowstorms to make it to his 3rd birthday when the roads were closed and everyone else stayed home. Now I was too old. That night I opened the bottom drawer of the desk in the spare room. The key was still there, taped to the underside of an old insurance folder the way Harold had left it. The key to the lake cabin. The little A-frame on Lake Monroe that Harold and I bought the year Jason turned 12. We paid it off early. We kept it in my name only because Harold always said it was simpler that way. Jason and Megan had spent every summer there until 3 years ago, when the visits stopped and the excuses started. Money was tight. The drive was long. Caleb had baseball. I took the key out and set it on the kitchen table. Then I wrote the letter. I wrote it longhand on the good stationery Harold used to keep for Christmas cards. No lawyer language. Just the plain truth. I told them I had listened carefully to every reason they gave me for staying home. I told them I understood that parties with bounce houses and loud music were not designed for women my age. I told them I was sending a gift for Caleb anyway, because a grandmother does not skip a 10th birthday. Inside the box, I wrote, they would find 2 things, this letter and the key to the cabin. Effective immediately, the cabin belonged to Caleb. I had already signed the paperwork with the attorney in town and placed a copy of the new deed in the lockbox at the bank. The key in the package opened the front door of the cabin, and the second key on the ring opened the metal box bolted to the floor of the closet where the original documents and the maintenance ledger were kept. I wrote that I had watched them grow distant. I wrote that I had noticed the way conversations about money always ended when I entered the room. I wrote that I knew the house they lived in still carried my name on the mortgage paperwork from the years I co-signed when Jason's credit was thin. I wrote that I was done waiting to be invited into my own family on terms that made everyone else comfortable. The cabin was the one clean thing left that had never been borrowed against or argued over. It was going to the only person in the family who still looked at me like I mattered. I folded the letter, slid it into an envelope with Caleb's name on the front, and placed the key on top of it. Then I went to the hall closet and found a plain brown shipping box. I wrapped the whole thing in the blue paper with the little sailboats that Caleb used to like when he was small. I drove to the post office the next morning and paid for overnight delivery. The party was on Saturday. I spent that day the way I spend most Saturdays now. I swept the front walk. I watered the pots on the porch. I made a grocery list I didn't really need. Around 3 o'clock my phone started vibrating on the counter. First Jason. Then Megan. Then Jason again. I let it ring. At 3:47 a.m. text came through from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Harlan, this is Denise from 2 doors down. I'm at the community center. They just opened the gift from you. You might want to answer your phone. I sat down at the kitchen table and waited. Jason called at 4. His voice was tight in a way I had never heard. What the hell is this, Mom? A birthday gift, I said. You gave the cabin to a 10-year-old. In front of half the neighborhood. Megan's parents were there. My boss's wife was there. People were taking pictures of the letter. I asked the post office to mark it for the birthday boy. I assumed someone would open it with him. You assumed wrong. You made a scene. I looked out the window at the maple tree. A few early leaves were already turning. I wasn't invited to the scene, Jason. You and Megan made that clear. I sent a gift. That's what grandmothers do. Megan's voice came on the line, sharper. You can't just transfer property like that without talking to us. We've been maintaining that place. We've paid the taxes some years. You've paid the taxes 3 times in 11 years, I said. I have the receipts. And the cabin was never yours to maintain. It was mine. Now it's Caleb's. There was a long silence. I could hear the sound of a bounce house still running in the background, the high squeals of children who had no idea why the adults had gone quiet. Jason tried again, softer this time. Mom, come on. This is about the party. We were trying to protect you. You're not as strong as you used to be. We didn't want you to feel left out, but we also didn't want anything to happen. I felt left out the moment you decided I was too old to sit in a folding chair and watch my grandson blow out candles, I said. The cabin is the only answer I had left that you couldn't talk over. They kept talking. About lawyers. About how Caleb couldn't own property. About how this would look. About how I was being dramatic. I let them talk until the words ran out. When the line went quiet, I said the only thing that still needed saying. The key is real. The deed is filed. If you want to explain to your son why the place he used to love now has his name on it and not yours, that's your conversation to have. I already had mine. I hung up. The house was quiet again. The late afternoon light stretched across the kitchen floor the same way it always had. I made a fresh pot of coffee and sat with it until it grew cold. Outside, a neighbor's dog barked at a delivery truck. Somewhere down the street a lawnmower started up. Ordinary sounds on an ordinary Saturday. My phone stayed dark for the rest of the evening. No more calls. No more texts. I washed the single mug I had used and set it in the rack. Then I walked through the rooms one by one, turning off lights the way Harold and I used to do together. In the spare room, I paused at the desk drawer that had held the key for so many years. It was empty now. I went to bed early. The ceiling fan turned slowly above me. I thought about the cabin in the dark, the way the water sounded against the dock at night, the way the floorboards creaked near the wood stove. I thought about a 10-year-old boy holding a key that still had the old piece of masking tape on it with Harold's handwriting. Somewhere across town, a party that had gone silent was packing up its balloons and folding its chairs. I did not need to be there to know how it ended. I had already sent everything that needed sending.